Today on the Ortho Perspective, we have Omar Khateeb, and Omar is the president of Khateeb and Company. So welcome to the show, Omar.
Hey, Stu, thank you. It's such an honor to be here, and thanks for having me on. I guess like a little bit like the one sentence pitch about
Yeah,
who we are and what we do. Khateeb and Company is a sales training and education company where we essentially help med tech companies and medical sales reps drive technology adoption at scale and grow pipeline using social media. Along
yeah,
with that, we have the Medical Sales Network Effects program, which is a community and online training program that people go through, and of course, the State of MedTech, which is the source of truth for all things at the intersection of business and medicine.
right. Well, I know I've been a follower of yours for quite some time on LinkedIn, and there's several of us out there doing similar things, promoting the use of LinkedIn, social media for med device reps. And that's exactly why I want to talk to you today is from your perspective, why should med device reps be utilizing LinkedIn and social media as part of their selling strategy?
Yeah, this I'll give you the short answer and then the long answer.
Yeah.
The short answer is that it is the key that will unlock freedom for you in the future and de-risk your career. That's the short answer. A little bit of the longer answer is that because of the way the world functions in the last 10 or 20 years, this brain of ours that's in our skull has not evolved in thousands of years. So it does not know the difference between the digital world and physical world. Like it's the same thing. Note that I said physical world, not real world. This is all real.
Yes.
Similarly, for a B2B buyer, whether it's a hospital CEO or a surgeon or a recruiter for a company, there's no difference between their behaviors as a B2B buyer, business to business buyer, versus, at work versus a consumer at home. Meaning, if I told you about Ember Mug, which is a smart mug, the first thing you're going to do is probably just Google it. Or you might, if you're into using TikTok, you might look it up on TikTok, or likely you go on Amazon. You just look it up on Amazon. You land on the product page, and on that product page, depending on who you are, you need different variables of persuasion to convince you to buy it. So maybe those things are you see more than 100 reviews and they're 4 stars, you buy it. Maybe you want to scroll down and see the features of it, like how it's designed, what's the mechanisms. Maybe you want to see some reviews. Maybe you want to see some videos. Everyone's different. So for Amazon or Apple or any of these trillion-dollar companies, all the persuasion needed to convince you about this product is there. As a rep, let's use the worst case scenario. Not a single one of your, and this is impossible at this point, by the way, because LinkedIn's user base is almost at
Yes.
1 billion. Let's say not a single one of your customers is on LinkedIn or uses LinkedIn. So why be on there? Because that page of yours as a rep is a product page for you. It's a product page when an investor wants to learn about you or comes across you, a CEO, a surgeon, a recruiter, etc. And for those who don't believe me, try this exercise. I usually tell them to do it with themselves or a doctor, but they'll say, "Oh, well, LinkedIn pops up on the top of Google search because, I don't use a lot of social media." I use a lot of social media. I've been doing content for almost well over a decade at this point. I have multiple podcasts, YouTube videos, etc., Twitter, everything. So if you search Omar M. Khateeb on Google, I will be, the other day when I looked at it, I was at 888,000 searches. And it's a unique name, by the way, right?
Yes.
Number one hit at the very top is LinkedIn. Why? Microsoft owns LinkedIn. It's not going away anytime soon. And because of the social media aspect of it, number one most trusted social media platform, number one most secure, authorities involved with that. Because of those things, Google ranks it high. So all roads lead back to LinkedIn. And so that product page needs to convince whoever's looking at you that you're the person worth taking a meeting with, whether it's for a surgeon or a recruiter or anything else. So that's kind of the long answer.
Right. And that I wholeheartedly agree with everything that you're saying there. And I know from my perspective, I was, relatively late to the game myself. I've only been active on it, for about 2.5 years. But it is the future. The thing that really stuck out to me, Omar, was when you said our surgeon customers, or healthcare customers, whatever it is, customers, they're buying products the same way they do personally. And this has been a sticking point for mine for quite some time, is that our industry and a lot of sales industries we are selling things the exact opposite way that we like to buy things. And
Very much.
that has been a frustration of mine, because you nailed it. If I'm interested in a product, your mug, I go on Amazon, I research it, I this or that, and then I buy it. I go into Best Buy, want to buy a new TV. I don't want to be sold about that. I want a guy there who is answering questions of mine.
100%.
Yeah.
And look, imagine how frustrating it would be if, let's just say, I don't know, you want to hire a plumber and you can't, you like, for you to learn more about the plumber, and then maybe not a plumber,
Right.
because like you pretty much just find
But
anything. Let's think of something where you would actually research, like I don't know, you want to set up date night with your spouse, and rather than like go look on Instagram or go check some things about, about the restaurant, you have to book meeting to talk to one of the sales
yeah,
reps of the restaurant about the experience,
that
right?
that
Like,
that would be pretty frustrating. We
yeah,
would never
and
go out to eat.
exactly. And look, what I'm trying to teach people, everybody, forget medtech, every sales training course, all the books out there, majority of them are on what? Closing.
Mm-hmm.
Very few are on starting the relationship and growing pipeline. And based on the math, if you and I are competing and my closing rate is like, let's say, a 70%, which is really high, and yours is 20%, people would often say like, I would beat you out, unless they know that maybe you put 10 to 15% more in pipeline. The math just works out for you,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
And so before somebody's able to pay money to buy your product or pay with their political capital to endorse your product, they need to pay with their time to have a meeting with you. And before they pay with their time to have a meeting with you, you got them to pay with their attention.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times it's like, okay, I'm going to meet with this person for 30 minutes. Who am I meeting with? Oh, I can't see anything about them. I have no idea. Why would you take a meeting like that?
Correct.
You
And
know?
I mean, it is the beautiful thing from the standpoint of, as a consumer, I like to research stuff on my time when I want to do it.
Exactly.
The
That's
the
exactly
use
right.
the use of LinkedIn and all of that, it's evergreen content. People can consume it, find out about you at 2 in the morning if they want to.
Yeah.
And that is a beautiful thing. So why do you think that there's such a big hesitation from reps in the med device industry to embrace this? We do understand that there is, with some of the companies, some limitations that they have there, but there's a lot of ways that reps can engage in this and be compliant with their company's guidelines.
The main thing is that it's easier not to change. Even when
Mhm.
staying the same is not good, the brain just forces you like, hey, it's better.
Yes.
Just change can mean we die, right? So that's one thing. The compounding effects of, let's say, a company. So, and I'm going to do an episode about this because I have all the social media guidelines for a lot of the major companies. I'm going to dispel all of them because essentially all it says in one sentence, don't post about our products and make claims you can't make. Outside of that, you have every right legally to post whatever you want,
Mm-hmm.
politically, about leadership, about self-development. But I think the other side of it is that when you're at a big company, these companies exist for a reason. When you get past a certain point of technology adoption, at some point you're going to have a moron run a company or a division of the company. The systems and processes have to be so rigid and set that even if you try and destroy a division of J, like you just can't
Right.
do it.
Right.
But as a result of that, it doesn't allow to the adoption of these new channels. And then if you are a nail that sticks out a little bit, the system itself will nail you back in. And so
Yes.
if you're a rep or a manager and you start doing something and you stand out, even if it's positive, the fact that you are different psychologically from an evolutionary standpoint makes people reject that. Perfect example, and I think he's okay with me saying this, but like Johnny Cafaro is a great example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Brought a lot of positive attention to Stryker outside of the industry, a lot of great things. But they for whatever reason, from what I can tell, had an issue with how much of his brand was out there. And
Right.
Stryker, from my understanding, like at least from my data, because I monitor these things on LinkedIn, I've seen like an increase in Stryker rep social media activity just on LinkedIn. It went up something like 20, 25% just from my
Yeah.
analysis. you know?
We,
So they don't like those things because they don't know what to do with it.
well, correct. And they're not in control of the message.
That is
And,
correct.
and I do understand that there are some differences between 1099 and W2s, just from what you can expect. There's probably also, and I'm looking forward to you going through social media policies, because I do think that even something simple as myself, I don't have any company names that I represent their products on my LinkedIn page, just so that I don't offend anybody. I
Yeah.
do have my history, but I don't have any of the companies I currently work with.
And that's
And
smart
yeah, because
because
I
your
want,
customers are doing business with you. They
and that
don't really care that it's XYZ company or whatever.
correct. And that was a big part of what it was, is that I want people coming through me identifying with myself. Um, so let's take the big company reps aside. Is even smaller independent guys like myself who carry multiple product lines and even competing product lines, within the same segment, you
Mm-hmm.
know very few of us are on LinkedIn either, actively on LinkedIn. A lot of people are consuming. Just talk again. I know you hit on some of it, but talk again, like a guy like me, if I called you and said, Omar, I carry these 10 different companies and I'm hesitant. Why? Tell me why I need to do it.
Yeah. Well, mainly because you gotta, as Wayne Gretzky said, you gotta skate to where the puck's going. And it's not even that the puck's going there, like it's there already, you
Yes.
know. Um, and on top of it, again, let's just assume that and most reps when they look their customers up, they actually look it up the wrong way. For example, you can look up a surgeon. There's a lot of surgeons I know who have like 10, 15, 30 followers on LinkedIn, zero activity. They don't even have a profile photo. But I've spoken to them, and it's again anecdotal. They log in and consume content,
Yes.
right? And chairs of departments are being expected to be on there because it helps with recruiting. And so aside from that, the other thing is, as a independent rep, as a distributor, you want to be very visible. So when a new company, a startup comes out with a new product, they say, hey, instead of us hiring somebody for this region, we should go Stu Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's give them exclusive rights to this technology, right? And there's people in my program, like a great example, Jessica Zamparetti out in the East Coast, killing it, right?
Yep.
And it's
Jessica
because,
is amazing.
yeah. And again, that's a great example of somebody who, like, I'm personally very proud of. But again, she values the fact that the only way you can shortcut your time is to invest in your skills and coaching. So she's in my program. She's gone through it. I know she's in medical sales RX as well, because
Yep.
it allows you to get more insight about what are the best strategy and tactics that work rather than wasting time. But again, like, aside from your customers on there, your future businesses on there. If you grow as an independent rep and you're like, oh man, like I never expected people in another state to want to do business with me. I need to hire somebody out there. Well, now
Right.
you have a pool to pull from in LinkedIn. And here's another thing. Here's $1 million idea. I keep telling independent reps and distributors, go outside of the walls of the OR. That doctor has a private practice. And guess what? There are no FDA guidelines regulating SaaS products. And these SaaS companies are extremely aggressive. They
Mm-hmm.
really do not care. As long as they can get in, you can get some great recurring revenue in, making introductions for SaaS companies for like revenue cycle management, marketing software, etc. And
Right.
you don't have to be there to support cases. They just install it and you just sit back and collect royalty checks, you
Correct.
know?
And we are not currently doing that. Um, but your point is, and I've talked with multiple people, is the future, I believe, is going towards multiple revenue streams, because we, how do I say that? People just want the flexibility and freedom to create the business that they want. And
Exactly.
I think 5 years from now, we're going to have many more people doing that than today,
Yeah.
because the way just business has changed over the past 50 years. My parents, your parents, were a generation where they'd go work for one company their entire life. That is far, far from the truth today. So being well diversified is good, because if I'm carrying a product line, if I have 10 product lines and I had equal market share, 10% of my income from each, one company gets acquired, it's sad. but I still have 90% of my income. I get let go from being a W-2 from one company. I'm in crisis mode.
Very
And
much so.
yeah, and
And
the best time to be working on that is when we have an income.
100%. That's exactly correct. And look, the way that I like to look at it, it's like having a one-legged stool. It's not stable at all.
Yes.
So, like for my own business, like without me giving it more thought, I'm sure I can come up with more. But just off the top of my head, I think I have 4 or 5 streams of income just with my own
Mm-hmm.
like business that I have today. But even within it, there's other risk. For example, 98% of my revenue for my course has come through paid advertisement or organic on LinkedIn. That's a huge risk. So now, I'm making sure that I have ad strategies on Facebook, Instagram. Look, as much as I hate it, I have political reasons why I don't like it. But like TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
it only hurts my business not being on there. It doesn't matter like what my feelings are. The fact is that the reason why that company hit 4 billion in ad revenue in 3 years is because instead of going on Google and searching, people are going on TikTok and searching. And they have interest-based search. So I got to be on there, whether I like it or not. It's all about de-risking. Look at our the medtech industry. The reason why there's consolidation happening. There's a reason why Medtronic doesn't just focus on like one division. It's like you need various service lines to de-risk the business, right? And have leverage.
Correct. And obviously consolidation is going to always continue to happen. New companies come up, you'll have a company like Stryker, J&J acquire that technology. But what I have found is go to a meeting like the academy meeting for orthopedic surgeons, and I walk around and I look, there's no shortage of great products to put in your bag to promote to your surgeon customers. And that's never going to stop. People are going to get acquired, other companies are going to pop up. It's just the way it is. And so positioning yourself to be able to take advantage of that over the long term is the key. And I love what you're doing and trying to encourage people to do this. um, and I also know there's a frustration there for you, just so I'd like to just get into that briefly from the standpoint of people aren't investing in ourselves. And that is crazy to me.
Yeah.
So we talked offline about the entrepreneur versus employee mindset. And how big of a problem do you think that is within med device?
It is, I would say it is the number. I like to do root cause analysis.
Mm-hmm.
It is the root cause of why our industry has the problems it is today. Because the employees and individuals think like this. The companies think this way as well. This is why we haven't evolved as an industry. This is why our products are the way they are. This is why our business models are the way they are. I pissed off a lot of people last year because I stood up and asked a question about robotics. And I said, hey, um, who's going to be the first to come up with a new business model in robotics aside from this outdated razor blade model? Which, look, I grew up with
Right.
that model, right? But we need a new model, like SaaS products and everything. I was like, is it going to be somebody from our industry, or is it going to be some random company in tech who comes and does this?
Right.
People got really upset that I asked that
Right.
question, but it's true.
Well, correct. But along those lines is I do believe, Matthew Ray Scott talks about being tactfully polarizing. There is no change of opinion if someone isn't polarizing enough to ask a question.
Yeah,
And you can ask it in a sincere way, like I know you were about the robotics question. You're trying to learn and understand it. But
exactly.
the only way we change, improve, and grow is if we do something differently.
Exactly. And look, I'll kind of touch on that, like your original question about the investment part is reps cannot expect to make more money or de-risk their futures
Mm-hmm.
by just doing what got them to where they are today, but just work harder, right?
Correct.
Um,
Well, take it from the company side. If I was the president of these companies, I would probably be doing similar things because, prices are going down, this or that. And you know what?
oh,
Why are we paying them if they're just covering cases?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And look, that's the other side. I've spoken to about this with Matthew Scott. What's more disappointing to me than, let's say, reps. I mean, forget about my main flagship product. Like I have a product that's like $90. They they have an issue doing that. I had to choose somebody out the other day because this individual reached out to me for recommendations on how to become a better med tech marketer. And one of the books I recommended is actually $100 book. And they had the audacity to tell me, "Oh man, Omar, but that's a really expensive book." And I'm like, "You need one idea, right?" Like we justify buying all
Yep.
kinds of nonsense. Black Friday showed up. When it comes to this, you know, forget about me. Let's take it from the perspective of a friend of mine who has he's this guy's actually 26. He's 26 years old, runs a 5-person company, and they do about 25 million in revenue every year. Okay. And we are talking about this, and a friend of his who's a billionaire hedge fund manager told him this, and we were discussing this, which is the things that you did to get to a 6-figure company
Mm-hmm.
are not going to be the things to get you to a 7-figure company or an 8-figure company. Like
Correct.
it's not going to work. Like doing it at scale and harder does not work. So
Mm-hmm.
even me, you know, my company has done pretty well this year. For me to go to the next level in terms of revenue and size and everything, I can't do what I did this year, but just better. I have to do some radically different things,
Correct. And,
you
and
know?
that's why I believe that in ways it is easier to 5-10x revenue for entrepreneurs than it is to 20%, because in order to do that you do have to do the radical different things, because
Absolutely.
you can grow at 10% for a given period of time and then you hit the wall where you have to do something radically different. And I say radically different, that's not true, because I genuinely don't think it's radical differences that
I really
make
don't think so
that
either. Yeah.
right.
It's it
It
actually
seems like it because that's the results.
yeah, that's exactly right. And like look, for the reps who are listening to this who are like fully employed, they're like, oh, this doesn't apply to me. It absolutely does, because you know what?
Yes.
At the end of the day, I don't care whether you work for yourself or for a company or what industry. It's all about leverage. Like the people who came out of COVID making more money than everybody else, they were highly leveraged against the market. And so for this, you need to be highly leveraged. There's reps I know who are, you know, look, I'm 36 years old. By the time I was 29, I was burnt out from like covering cases and flying all over
Mm-hmm.
the place. There are reps I know who are well into their 50s. They're still doing that. And my
Yep.
hat goes off to them because I'm like, man, these people are machines. But some of them are like, you know what? I would like to take a role, account executive role in SaaS. I'm like, no offense, bud, but who's going to hire you?
Right. and
Like
and that
what skills do you have that say, oh, this can transfer this out? It's not enough to be like, oh, I worked in this industry and I know doctors well. That's not enough, you know?
correct. And I'll kind of close it with this. First of all, I appreciate your time, but what I was going to say is I talk with people all the time, hundreds of reps I've talked with over the past couple of years who feel frustrated. I know you are as well, because if they weren't frustrated, there's no need for what you're doing or what I'm doing. Um, but the question I always ask them is, 5 years from now, are you going to be happy that you invested time, energy, and effort into changing, or are you going to want to do it 5 years from start 5 years from now? And myself personally, again, I've only been active on LinkedIn the past couple of years. I'm so glad I'm not just starting today, but it would have been nice if I would have even started a year or so earlier, because I have seen momentum and growth. And I know that you probably think along the same lines.
100%. And I know we're over time. Can I share
Yeah,
one
absolutely.
quick little thing to think about? You know, I've been writing and talking about using social media for a long time, specifically like right around 2014, 2015 timeframe. In 2008, when the market collapsed, everything went to hell. Around that time, a little company that made videos called YouTube was acquired for the cheapest price in history for $1 billion by Google.
Mm-hmm.
And back in '08, I remember myself and a lot of people, we just thought, oh, YouTube, it's that thing that I can post my home movies on and I can watch do it yourself
Right.
stuff. No one realized, like, no, this is TV. And had I known this back then and someone just said, "Hey, Omar, you like reading books? Just throw up random videos. Just be consistent about it."
Right.
Because just by doing it like half well, I would have benefited dramatically. I would have been highly leveraged today, do whatever I want if I had that asset.
Mm-hmm.
Today, you know, and the boat's kind of not completely taken off, but like it started a few years ago when I think in 15, 16, when LinkedIn started creating a more engaging newsfeed. LinkedIn, people think that it's like, oh, that's a place where I throw my resume up and
Correct.
then I search for jobs. Microsoft has acquired it, just like Google acquired YouTube. Microsoft made a little over 10 billion last year from LinkedIn. And they're
It's
they're
amazing.
doing, yeah, it's amazing. But honestly, because I know people at LinkedIn and I know their business model, they could be tripling that,
Yeah.
honestly. This is not only it's not only not going away, it is going to be the central source of truth for all things business, investing, etc. I mean, Odell Beckham Jr., the NFL, the Super Bowl champion, he's now on LinkedIn. There's a designer the other day who told me, yeah, TikTok and stuff, like I feel like the only legitimate following that's worth having is on LinkedIn. This is where money is going to be exchanged at scale. It's not,
Right.
and if you think about the conversations, like I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube, I'm on all these things. LinkedIn is the only place that, for myself and a lot of other people, you always walk away with like, man, that was actually really, time, that was time well spent.
And
You want to be there.
I completely agree. And I can't tell you how many people I have met because of LinkedIn that I am friends with now. And I haven't met a lot of them. Several of them I have met in person at different meetings. And it is truly amazing how just the connections and how we have helped each other, referred business to each other, giving each other strategies, becoming, you know, our each other's biggest fans, mentors, sounding boards, you name it, because we are in it to help each other, and they're not our competitors. And I've
Totally.
also changed my mindset about that. I don't view anybody as my competitor anymore.
Same. Yeah, yeah, same here. And I'll
So
just I'll just end with one of my new favorite quotes. I don't know if I read this somewhere or somehow we'll say that I read it from somewhere. It's very rare to come up with anything original these days, but everyone worries about the cost of investing in like coaching or investing in an
mhm,
online course or training or a seminar or workshop. Everybody worries about the cost of that. Nobody worries about the cost of being in the exact same place
correct.
a year from now. And in those situations when those days happen, you only have yourself to blame, not your company,
Correct.
not your manager, just yourself.
Correct.
You
The
know?
cost is significantly higher to stay where you are.
Yeah,
100% agree. So Omar, appreciate your time. If people are
totally.
wanting to reach out to you, connect with you, what is the best way for them to reach out to Omar?
Yeah. LinkedIn's the best way. What I would say is just search my name across any social media channel. You'll find me. But LinkedIn's the best way. And for your listeners, if you're interested, and I always give these free LinkedIn profile consults to tell people about what they can do to level up their careers. Just go to my LinkedIn profile. You'll see the link at the top of my page, and just click it, and I'll provide as much value as I can.
All right, Omar, thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much.